A very good morning, afternoon, and evening, wherever you are in the world. It is the HyperDrive Cities Championship, also known as the festival, here in sunny Singapore. It's been very, very hot the past couple of days, but it is going to get hotter in the venue and online. And if you're just wondering who we are, it's myself, Phil, and renowned motorsports journalist Hong Sui joining me as your shoutcaster for today.
Well, it's a huge pleasure to have all of you join us watching live at home and also here at the Scape Arena. And this is, as Phil has mentioned earlier, this is the Sim Racing Championship Finals for the HyperDrive Cities Festival. And we are expecting a mega race happening later tonight.
Indeed, and it's always good fun down here with the folks here at the HyperDrive Cities Festival. We've had tons of amazing musical acts. On site, we do have the sim racing rig set up. Outside, we had the electric go-karting set up as well. It was an amazing, it's been an amazing time so far. Yesterday, today, we'll be here tomorrow as well. So if you're not here with us right now, don't fret. We're still here the whole of tomorrow.
So as Phil has mentioned, we have electric karting happening on the outside of this venue, rather, Scape Singapore is where we're broadcasting live. Now, the electric carts outside go to a top speed of up to 24 kilometers per hour. Now, you cannot experience instantaneous performance unless you're in an electric motor. No cars in the world can go as fast as electric cars in terms of pickup. And like Phil has mentioned, we are here at Scape Singapore in the heart of Orchard Road. Now, Orchard Road is also the street circuit where the sim drivers will be competing and racing for the championship finals later this evening.
And speaking of circuits, like you said, the race later this evening, the qualifying rounds were held last weekend, and we had over 120 participants from around the world, mostly in the APAC region. A lot of familiar names you'll see later on when we flash up who qualified. But only the top 25 of those 120 over racers qualified for tonight, unfortunately. But that means we're just going to see such a high level of sim racing this evening.
Definitely some of the best sim drivers in the region. Now, last week, they were racing on a brand new track that was released by the HyperDrive Cities Festival creators, and that was the Semanggi Street Circuit over in Indonesia. Now, this newest racetrack was developed with a total distance of 4.4 kilometers, 16 turns, and a double overhead pass. Now, this has to be one of the coolest street circuits ever developed. Now, Phil, I understand that you had a chance to sit behind the sim racing rigs earlier this afternoon and experience the new circuits. What was it like for you?
It's amazing, and I think urban circuits have always been very challenging and very tricky, and I think that's one of the big draws of the F1 night race in Singapore, right?
Yes.
Those smaller, close quarters, very few opportunities to overtake, and you have to be very careful as you come around. We've seen tons of spin-outs, we've seen tons of crashes in previous editions of the race as well, and I mean, I spent quite a bit of time in Jakarta before the pandemic, and it's an amazing place. The Semanggi Street Circuit is actually right at General Sudirman Road, if I get that correctly. Hopefully, I did not butcher it. Sorry if I did, but it's in the middle of the CBD, and it's just amazing. And we were talking about this earlier. The whole kind of setup and the whole rendering of the circuit itself is so high detailed. You know, they actually have the guys go down on site, lidar, scan everything multiple times, take their time, and then convert that on the into Assetto Corsa. The fidelity is just really crazy.
So, Phil, you were there physically in real life, and you've also experienced the sim racing, how the map or how the entire circuit was developed by HyperDrive Cities. So, how realistic is it from real life to virtual?
It's almost one-to-one, to be honest, and I think the racers will agree as well. The Indonesian racers later on, we might have, we'll see if we can get some of them on onto a video call. But it's exactly the same for the Singapore circuit as well, the Orchard Road circuit.
That's true.
Any Singaporean will tell you it is almost exactly like the real deal if you walk down the whole circuit around here in Orchard Road. So it's amazing. Tonight, they are going to be on the McLaren 720S GT3 edition, and that is going to be amazing. It's an amazing car, handles very well, and it's just a treat.
That's right. Now, it will be a one-mic race, which means all the drivers will be driving the exact same car. Now, tuning has been switched off, so the drivers are not able to really fine-tune, tweak, or modify the car. So what really sets them apart tonight, Phil, will be practice, skill, and maybe also a little bit of luck. Now, to join us here at the Shoutcasters booth, we have a very special guest this evening who has experience in racing real-life street circuits. Stay tuned. don't go away because she's coming on board after these messages. Okay.
We're back, ladies and gents, boys and girls, wherever you're tuning in to from around the world. It's the HyperDrive Cities Festival. It's myself, Phil Hongsui, and we have the 17-year-old tearing up the motor racing circuit globally. She is setting it on fire. We have none other than Bianca Bustamante from the Philippines. How are you doing?
Good evening, guys. Thank you so much for inviting me over. It's an honor to be here, and I'm very, very excited. And yeah, I can't wait to watch all the races and talk about it.
Well, Bianca, welcome to the HyperDrive Cities Festival, and more importantly, welcome to the HyperDrive Cities Sim Racing Championship Finals. Now, you've been racing for quite a few years now, right? You've been racing in karting, sim racing, real-life racing right now. What has that experience been like for you?
It's been a whirlwind. This year, 2022, it's been a roller coaster ride for us. You know, I came straight from karting and now into a Formula car. And actually, not just any Formula car. I've been driving an F3 this year with the W Series, and we're actually going to be racing at the streets of Singapore next weekend. So that is, of course, an amazing feeling, and I'm just so happy. And leading up to this moment is just an amazing journey. So yeah, I'm really excited.
That's fantastic. Well, okay, so we also understand that you're into sim racing. You do a lot of esports. I believe you're also supported by Nick Sebel Racing. So, how important do you think esports is in terms of driver development?
Oh, it's really is the future of like motorsport, you know, especially for rookie drivers like me, which is like my first year in Formula Car. There's a lot of limitations for testing. We are not allowed to drive at the circuits that we're going to be racing at, and of course, everyone knows how demanding it is, and just like financially, it's difficult to be testing. So really, all we can rely on is simulator and sim training to learn the track, to learn the braking points, and just overall enhance our driving because, you know, it's very expensive to be testing in real life.
No, it is. Especially those tires. All right, so this afternoon you also had a chance to go on to those electric karts we're talking about. Phil and I have not gone onto the race hub yet. We're planning to do that. You know, Phil and I are going to race and compete a little bit. Maybe you could join us later. But what was those electric karts like? What was it like?
Well, you know, like I really do think that electric and hybrid and all of that is now really blooming and like booming into motorsport. You know, we've seen FE like really taking over, and you know, I got into the electric car and didn't realize how like powerful it is on the get-go, like when you accelerate and the torque is just there.
The instantaneous power.
Instant takeoff, and I was like, ooh. I was like trying not to not to scratch my my manager's helmet because I was using his helmet. and yeah, so it was actually really amazing. You know, I got to drive, and actually I was driving with a few of the girls that was here earlier, and you know, I encouraged them to go and drive on the car, and they were like a bit scared at first, but eventually, you know, we got to drive with them, and yeah, it was really fun.
That's great. That is great. I saw you having a lot of fun this afternoon. I don't think you wanted to leave the carts. I think you want to stay on the carts.
You know, like going into Formula Cars, I really did miss karting a lot, and you know, it's nice to be back here and experience all those things all over again.
Fantastic.
Any advice for some of the aspiring racers out there? You know, now with sim racing, it's accessible to everyone around the world. You don't need, you know, a huge amount of financial backing to get into sim racing, right? We even have, I think the technology is so good that some of these sim racers are playing on their phones. So you're opening it up to a massive demographic. You're going to have tons of potential drivers? What's your advice to them to progress their career?
I mean, like really, even like during just the pandemic, esports has really reached a new level of just discovery. And we've got Sea Games and now all this amazing championship, especially for sim racing. Of course, all I could ever say really is to keep on pursuing. It's gonna be a long journey. I've been through it and I've been through the slumps. And for 2 years, I couldn't race at all, and that was definitely tough for me. But yeah, that's all I can ever really say is to keep on pushing. And especially, there's like HyperDrive Series Festival, which is it's a big series, a big championship, and I know that there's going to be a lot of competitive drivers here that are aspiring to win in sim racing and move up in real life racing as well. And that transition is very difficult, but I know that with hard work, it's very achievable.
So determination, perseverance, and a lot of
Discipline.
practice. A lot of
And-
discipline as well.
and practice,
Absolutely.
yes.
Well, Bianca, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts and insights. Don't go anywhere because right after these messages from our partners and sponsors, we're going to start engines real soon. Cool.
All right, folks, welcome back to the HyperDrive City Sim Racing Championship. I have with me Hong and Bianca. We're going to go into the race very shortly. We've talked about the car, we've talked about the circuit, and now we're going to talk about the drivers. So very shortly on your screen, you're going to see the drivers who have qualified for the qualifying round that is about to happen.
That's right. Now leading on first, second, and third position, rather, from Indonesia, we have Dafa, Andika, and Jaka. In fourth position, Singapore, representing is Dylan. In fifth position, Indonesia, Marino. Philippines, Luis Marino in sixth. In seventh, from Indonesia, Presley. In eighth, Filipino, Russell. In ninth, Indonesian, Fadli. And in 10th, Singaporean, Jay Wong. That's your top 10 entry list. And coming up shortly will be the next 11 drivers.
From Singapore, once again, it is Zheng. From Indonesia, we have Sai. Thailand is Tanala Panan. Hopefully I didn't butcher that too badly. And then we have more Indonesians. We have Dafa, Fikri, and Takuma. And from Singapore, we have Jaden Chia. I think we have 3 from Singapore. Indonesia, once again, we have Muhammad Irfan. From India, we have Rishab. And we also have Shakil from Indonesia. Your next 10.
That's right. And to wrap it all up, the remaining 5 drivers from Indonesia, Tubagas from Malaysia, Muazzam from Singapore, Ethan from Indonesia, the final 2, Ryan and Ryan. So those are your 25 sim racing drivers who will be competing in tonight's championship finals. Now, one more question for you, Bianca. We briefly talked about this earlier about how important sim racing is, but the question to you now is, how important is sim racing in terms of real life driving racing?
Well, I feel like technology now is really advanced in sim racing. We've got all these amazing rigs and this motion rigs. Exactly, and that just stimulates everything, like going over the curbs, and how realistic it's really gotten is like so amazing. And we've got these direct drive wheels that feels exactly how it does in the real life. It simulates the weight and everything else. And so, having that just at home, and you can easily go on it morning, day, and night. And then just imagine all that track time and all those laps that you can put in, and you can't do that in real life. But then, if you can use that as your tool to perform better on track, it really is. It makes a huge difference. We've seen a lot of sim racers that goes into real life racing, and they excel so good.
I think that's true. Lots of seat time.
All right, well, for tonight's finals, we'll be on a different Orchard Road circuit. It is none other than the extended circuit, which will pop up onto your screen right here. A total of 4.9 kilometers long, and of course, you're going to see a couple of new straights. We have 2 more additional straights compared to the original Orchard Road street circuit. A total of 18 turns, including a very, very crazy hairpin turn. And we've seen in the qualifiers, in some of the practice rounds as well, lots of very risky overtaking opportunities there. And remember, like you pointed out, Hong, collisions are on.
Yes,
which
they
means
are.
we do have the potential for some crashes to happen.
That's right. So, like you said earlier, there are a lot of interesting overtaking opportunities, a lot of corners that allows the drivers who dare to put it in to gain a spot. But high risk, high rewards, high rewards, high risk. So I'm sure the drivers, or rather I hope the drivers are prepared and ready for their race momentarily, because aside from bragging rights, the top 10 drivers will also be splitting a prize pool of 10,000 Singapore dollars. Wow, I mean, that is just a whole lot of money for a lot of these sim drivers. I really hope they're prepared for everything that is going to be thrown at them this evening. Okay, so I think we just got an update from the race officials. Qualifying session has already started, so why don't we jump right into qualifying session? There we go. Okay, we are now halfway into the qualifying session for the 2022 HyperDrive Cities Sim Racing Championship Finals. 8 minutes left on the clock, and we're now on board with, I believe, Filipino driver Martono.
It is indeed. It's actually Indonesian driver Presley Martono right now. We're going to go into Segir. He is in 6th place, and you can look at the deltas already. Quickest lap so far is by Pratama from Indonesia, 153.528, and the deltas continuously behind that, only about 1/10 of a second. So Andika, he did, remember, take last year's race in the 2021 E-Cities Championship, and of course Dylan Tan, he was one of the favorites last year. He had the quickest lap timing, came in with the quickest qualifying lap as well, but just couldn't perform under pressure in last year's race. But he is in 4th place, so still in a pretty good position heading into pole.
That's right. Now Dylan is one of the youngest, or rather Dylan is the youngest driver here tonight. I believe he was also the youngest driver in E-Cities Championship last year. 13 years old, and there you go, coming up onto 2nd with the 2nd fastest lap time right now, barely 0.04 of a second behind Pratama. That is really, really amazing driving.
I actually remember Dylan Tana. I was racing back in juniors, and he was still in Minirock.
Right.
And now how far we've come along is insane.
Well, one of you are in W Series, racing everywhere in the world, and I think
she has a 4-year head start.
Yeah,
okay?
I have
so
a 4-year head
he's 13,
start.
so we don't know where he's going to end up when he is 17.
Future is bright.
Absolutely inspirational, Bianca, and I believe Dylan will also be watching you race next weekend, just like how you're watching him race right now.
So we're watching Jaka at the moment from Indonesia. He is in 5th place right now, taking a very, very cautious turn around as he comes through into the straight very shortly. So this is where you're going to see a lot of overtaking. But also, if you do take a very dangerous line, it's going to allow you a good opportunity to catch up. This is one of the new straights that we have on the extended circuit.
And this is such a tricky corner right there. That little left-right, rather right and left. We're now on board with Sai, who I believe is from India, and coming into Singapore. I'm not sure if he's racing currently in India or if he's physically in Singapore, but this is one of the greatest things about sim racing, about esports, is that you could be anywhere in the world, and yet you could, thanks to HyperDrive Cities, you can now compete on the streets of Singapore.
I mean, the only thing that's missing for these guys is that G-force acceleration when you're in real life, right? Pop on some VR goggles, and essentially you can simulate everything, right?
Yeah.
We can simulate tire degradation, we can simulate the whole track conditions, we can simulate the weight of your car as the fuel starts to get lower and lower. So these guys are, once we start getting that G-force acceleration into the simulators, it's plug and play for them once they get onto the track.
You're right, Phil. There's so many kind of examples I want to give up right now, but I will not because they may not be suitable. Now here we have on screen with us, that's Dylan Tan representing Singapore, currently in 3rd position for this qualifying session. We only have about 4.5 minutes to go. The question is, will he be able to crunch out a faster lap time as compared to Dafa, who's currently leading in 1st position, with Pratama in 2nd, Dylan, who we have on screen rather right now, in 3rd, Andika Rama in 4th position, and Siswaya in 5th position here at the 2022 HyperDrive Cities Sim Racing Championship Finals.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty surprising that Reyes from the Philippines, he's in 7th place. Typically, you'll see him in the top 4 on the qualifying side of things. So maybe he's a bit behind. He's behind by about 0.3 of a second. But again, on this track, you know, 1/10 of a second is a lot of space, because when you're compressing it and you're compressing it into turns instead of straights, 1/10 of a second makes such a big difference as you try and pick your favorable lines coming through into those straights, and that's what they're gonna have to clean up once we get into the main race.
So Bianca, you have done a whole lot of a fair amount of street racing, legal ones obviously, legal street circuits. What is it like for you to be racing on a street circuit?
My first ever race in a Formula car was in the streets. I was in Miami Grand Prix, first ever race, and I managed to score points actually. I tried to stay safe and made clean passes, and overall, I think that's what you really just need. You need to know the boundaries of going too much, under driving, and of course for quali, you're willing to risk all of it, and I think that's pretty much what you need. You need that one lap.
Right, okay, well, so sorry to interrupt real quick, because now we're down to this final 2 laps, I believe. We're now with Andika Rama. I think Dafa just clocked, well, he's still right up at the top with a 1 minute 53.301 second lap time. We are watching, all eyes now on Andika Rama. Now, they are friends. I know that Andika and Dafa are friends in real life. But as they say on the race circuits, you know, you put that friendship aside temporarily because you are racing. If not, there's no point at all.
Yeah, I mean, the ties will be rooting for Tip, but unfortunately at the moment he's in 16th place, so that's going to be a rough start for him at the beginning of the race. Remember, like we said, 1/10 of a second, so much in a compressed urban circuit. And as we go down another straight, we're following Reyes right now. He's caught up. He was in 9th place, now in 5th place, behind by about 2/10 of a second on the Delta. But like you said, Dafa still leading. Dylan Tan in a very strong 2nd position. It just matters so much. Every single centimeter on that start is so important coming into the actual race itself.
No, absolutely. I mean, the key thing about street circuits is there's no runoff, right?
Yeah, there's no runoff at all.
So all you have on both sides are concrete walls, and you want to use the full width of the track. You want to use every single inch, every single centimeter, every single millimeter if you dare to squeeze it. And that's what these drivers are doing as well. And like we mentioned earlier, damage is turned on. So you're not going to be... Oh, there we go! So who was that? That's Shaquille. Yeah, just smashed right into the wall. And like I was just about to say, damage is turned on. So these drivers will be penalized. He's going to lose his traction. I believe, you know, aerodynamics will be damaged. That's really going to affect him. I believe that was his final opportunity for a flying lap. He's currently in 17th position. Not sure how that's going to affect his starting grid, but here we are back on the top of the list with Dafa, who is still ahead of every single driver here at the race.
Yeah, well, I mean we can't count him out at this level, at the highest echelons, the highest upper levels of racing. You know, anything is possible. Hamilton famously was penalized during one of the legs, right? But then came back and won the race, even though he was in last place. So, you know, anything could happen on this circuit. But yeah, it's such a tight circuit. But the saving grace, like we said, is most of the chicanes lead into straights on this course compared to, like, let's say Monaco, right? There's so little opportunities for you to gain speed and progress and overtake.
But,
So that's the one saving grace on the Orchard Road circuit.
Absolutely, Dafa. Absolutely, Phil, sorry. So Dafa has just crossed the start-finish line. I believe he may have enough time for one final push, one final lap. Andika Rama currently 1/10 of a second behind. I believe he's also going to be pushing really hard. We're watching Dafa right now as he's negotiating the first sector of the Singapore Orchard Road Street Circuit. 4.9 kilometers long, a lot longer than last year's 3.2 kilometer version. That only had 10 turns. This year we got 19 turns. That little part there was a very tricky part for all the sim drivers. And yeah, let's see what happens. Moments away. So Bianca, we were just talking real quickly. One final question leading up, continuing on rather from the question that we were talking about earlier, is there's no runoff.
Yes.
Right? How scary is that in real life when you're really going from edge to edge?
Like in some corners, even this is straightaway, you have this sort of tunnel vision where it like narrows down and narrows down, and you have that feeling, and suddenly the corner is just there, and you know you have to really react and really push the limit, and you know especially for quali, like I was saying, you really need that one good lap, that
That's
lap
all you need. That's
on
all
the
you
edge,
want.
and it's like
Yep.
an amazing feeling just driving it in real life, and obviously on the sim as well.
And that's when you use the tires to the max. I mean, fresh tires for qualification, fresh tires for race as well. Okay, cameras still on Dafa right now as he negotiates to the final two corners of this 4.9 kilometer race circuit, Orchard Road Street Circuit. And here he comes. Will he be able to beat his own time? He's got a fastest sector 2, and here he comes across the start-finish line. And I believe, no, he did not beat his own best time that he did earlier this evening. What an amazing, amazing qualification. I'm just super excited right now for the race. Now we got a minute or two before the race starts, so maybe we could take a quick look at the starting grid if our crew members are able to throw that on. Okay, thank you so much for doing it so quickly. Okay, leading in first position, starting on pole position is Dafa from Indonesia. Also from Indonesia is Andika Rama in second position. Dylan's representing Singapore in third. Marino representing Indonesia in fourth. Russell for the Philippines in fifth. For 6, 7, 8, and also 9, Indonesian drivers Fadli, Jaka, Fikri, Presley. And in 10th, our Thai representative, Tan Lepi.
Yeah, I mean, he was in 18th just now, and now he's made up time to get into at least the first 10. Now, the next 10 we have is, of course, Sai from India. He is behind the Delta by 8/10 of a second. We have Moreno from the Philippines with his compatriot, and 12th. Jay Wong for Singapore, 13th. We have Ryan from Indonesia, 14th. Jaden Chia from Singapore, Ethan Yeo as well, 15th, 16th. Shaquille, who had that spin-off at the end, 17th. Takuma from Indonesia, 18th. Rishab from India on the 19th. And we have Farif in 20th position.
That's right. Now it seems like only 3 more drivers qualified for this race, all from Indonesia. We have Ryan, Tubagus, and Muhammad, who will be wrapping up our top 23 for tonight's 2022 HyperDrive Cities Sim Racing Championship Finals. So it's very exciting moments for all the drivers. I'm not sure how much longer we have before the race starts. And, okay, so officials say green lights. I guess we're going to start. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 2022. I missed like 200 years.
2022 HyperDrive Cities Festival, also known as the HyperDrive Cities Championship Race. It is your final, ladies and gents. 23 drivers from 120 across the world now, and it is going to be one hell of a race here on the Orchard Road Extended Circuit.
That's right.
Again, I need to pull myself from the past of 2021. It is, we are live here at Scape in Singapore for F1 Racing Week, the start of F1 Racing Week. That is Dafa in first position in pole, Adika, his compatriot, in second, Dylan Tan, home crowd favorite, 13 years old, in third place, Pratama in fourth, and Reyes, your compatriot, Bianca,
Yes,
in
rooting
fifth.
for you guys. Let's do this, Philippines. Not to be biased.
Laban Pinasa.
Laban Pilipinas, yes.
There we go. Now in 6th position on the starting grid is Rajmat. In 7th, we have Siwoyo. In 8th, Sigia. In 9th, Bartono. 10th, Thompson. Okay, I believe the race is going to be starting momentarily. Once again, welcome everyone to this live stream. Welcome everyone who's watching live here at Escape Singapore. Our 2022 HyperDrive Series race is about to begin. Lights are going to go green, and I guess there we go. Lights are away, and it is race on.
A bit of a slower start, but here we go already. Andika in second. Dafa is holding on strong. Dylan in third. No one's overtaking anyone just yet. We're going to come up to the first turn. That's going to be the Mandarin turn.
That's right.
Lots of collisions already.
Oh, and more contact.
Indeed, more contact. The whole tail
Shaquille
end of the pack is gone.
That's right. Shaquille dropping from 11, I think, all the way down to 19 as well for Falan. I'm not sure exactly what happened there. Wow, what a fantastic start to the race. Exciting for some, probably not that exciting for
Andika
others.
is in first place, Dafa in second, Dylan Tan still in third, Reyes in fifth, so he's caught up by 2 places. We're going to go into the handy turn pretty shortly, and this is where we're going to see, we've heard from the drivers, it's such an annoying turn because you come out of this straight away into the Fort Canning hairpin. Here comes Andika, Dafa in second, Andika will take that first place, Dylan Tan maintaining third for Singapore, Reyes in fifth place, Pratama for Indonesia in fourth, Siswowo in sixth, and still they go on. We're going into the Fort Canning turn now as we head into Oxley very shortly. Now into Eber. We still have Andika Rama from Indonesia in the lead. Now we're going to go straight into the next straight. That's going to be the Eber straight before we get into the Grange turn hong.
That's right. Now this is another really, really tricky corner for the drivers. They're coming in with so much speed, and they just need to brake at the right time because you don't want to lose too much speed as well into this right-hander before making that left turn right behind Neon City and also Wisma Atrium. Now right here, these drivers are making this hard left. Now this is the narrowest point of the entire circuit. If memory serves me, this is about 80 meters across. That means the drivers will probably not be able to do any overtaking in that corner, but here they are coming down to the final corner across the start-finish line for the very first time for this 25-minute sprint race. Currently leading the race, we have Andika Rama in first position, Dafa in second. I believe Dafa dived a little bit too late for turn 1 on lap 1, but here are your top 3 drivers.
Indeed, and if you look right here, look, that's not even 1/10 of a second between first, second, and third. Dylan Tan's 3/10 of a second, but in terms of distance, it's so little. You think it's such a huge delta, but they're right stacked up right against each other. We're going to go into the Killarney chicane right there. Again, now we're going to go into the straight into Handy. Right after Handy, remember, it's going to be a hard right into the hairpin at Fort Canning, and that's where we're going to see the overtaking opportunities. Here's Handy. They go down. Good line by Andika. Good line by Dafa and Dylan Tan as well. Dylan might make a move here. Is he going to go for the risky turn? No, he's going to stay relatively conservative, and we'll just kind of he knows it's a marathon, it's not a sprint, right? 25 minutes, just stay consistent, stay on the right lines, be patient, and then go for the overtaking opportunities when it is optimal, not when you're trying to force something.
Absolutely, Phil. I think Dylan has a lot of experience in sim racing as well. He understands that, there's a bit of time. He is able to keep up with Andika Rama in first and Dafa in second, so he knows that it might be a better strategy to stay right on their tail, give them the pressure. Maybe someone in front will make a mistake, and at the same time, he can also watch and learn the lines of the drivers in front of him. Okay, cameras now on Martono, who's currently in 9th position. Pretty tight pack right here in the middle part of this grouping, rather. These drivers are they're not bumper to bumper per se. Well, these two are almost bumper to bumper. You can see that barely any distance between the two drivers there. Here now to 15, that is Takuma as they come on to the final 2 corners.
Indeed, and we're now at Grange, now coming slowly into Ion. This is the tail end of the pack, if you're wondering where we're at. It's Takuma from Indonesia. He's in 15th place, and with a huge delta.
Lots of damage on the car. I just noticed
a lot of damage, yeah.
Takuma's front bumper and door, you can see right there, damage is turned on. That means he is probably having some problems with the suspension system. His downforce, his aerodynamics, all that stuff will definitely be affected. But the thing is, how would it affect his race? How quickly is he able to adapt to the problems that the car has? Will also determine how well he finishes this race. 20 minutes to go for the 2022 HyperDrive Cities Sim Racing Championship Finals.
We're looking at Moreno at the moment from the Philippines catching up. Bianca, how scary is it when you come into a hairpin? I mean, it's a huge difference. There has to be a huge difference from a GT car to an F1 to a single-seater, right? How scary is that as you come into the hairpin? What's your thoughts? What are you thinking as you make that turn?
Well, definitely in a Formula car, I'd say that we have more arrows, so we're able to carry more minimum speed, a higher minimum speed, compared to GT cars. And definitely in a Formula car, you can really just feel how heavy it is, like going to the corner, trying to carry that minimum speed, and as well as trying to straighten up the steering wheel to get a power on exit. And especially at a corner like at that and a street circuit, exit is very important. I really do think, especially if there's a long straight after it.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Fort Canning hairpin and also the Henny corner, those two are such tricky spots on this brand new extended Orchard Road Street Circuit developed by the HyperDrive Cities crew. Now we are looking at Rajmat coming in, basically it's the rear view of Sega, who's in 8th position as they come to the start-finish line. If you're able to look very, very carefully on the sides of turn 1, you see big, massive Singapore Tourism Board posters and banners on this circuit. Once again, we need to thank Singapore Tourism Board for the support for making HyperDrive Cities Festival 2022 a possibility.
Indeed, this map made in Singapore and this event held in Singapore, held in SG. A bit of SG pride right there. And back into the race, 18 minutes to go. About 6 minutes, 7 minutes gone so far. These drivers are going to start to fatigue. Even if they're not in an actual car, sim racing is just it's not as fatiguing, but there is a huge amount of mental strain. Yeah,
mental focus.
You have to have that proper posture. You have to have the proper handling. These guys also, some of them actually, when they race, they actually have a water tube, water pack, a Camelback, like in real life with the hydration system, because you can't scratch your face. You can't take your hands off the wheel when you're under pressure, right?
You're right, Phil. That is one of the biggest challenge, even for sim racing. I mean, I'm not a professional sim driver myself. I've done some sim racing, and I can tell you guys firsthand that after 20 minutes, after 15 minutes, in fact, you start perspiring. And I'm sure every single one of these 23 drivers who are racing right now are perspiring, regardless of how powerful their AC is at home. Now on the tail view of Andika Rama, who's been leading the race ever since overtaking Dafa at turn 1 on lap 1. So here we are coming again through these final few corners. You can see these drivers, just as we talked about earlier, Bianca, they are really going from the edge of both sides when they enter and exit every single corner. Okay, fastest lap time clocked by 2 drivers, both purple, 3 drivers, 4 drivers. Oh, these really impressive. I think the drivers are really settling into the race pace right now. Very impressive lap times from every single one of them. Purple.
Definitely, they're going to get more familiar as they go through the race, as they go through each lap. But already you can see Andika is just starting to get that separation, even at the front, by about 6/10 of a second, 7/10 of a second, and Dylan needs to really be careful about this, because the prize money, it goes down exponentially. First place 3.5k, second place 2k, third place 1.5k. So that's a massive amount of difference for each individual placing. And I think Dylan is now starting to get some deja vu flashbacks of last year. He was at the top. He came in strongest in qualifying. He had really good pole position. He was actually in a huge, very close battle between himself and Andika for first and second. But now he's starting to trail. He's behind Andika by about 1.4 seconds. But Dafa starting to close the gap right now. He was behind by about 7/10 of a second, has closed that to 4/10 of a second.
That's right, Phil. Now, Dafa was top of the charts for the qualifying session, not just the qualifying session we just saw earlier, but also for the global qualifying session that happened a week ago when they were racing at Semanggi Street Circuit, Indonesia. And I think Dafa is definitely one to look out for. You can see his lap times now really starting to reel in Andika Rama in front of him. Dylan is going to need to push a little bit more if he wants to stay in fight in that contention for second position, which will be a big challenge. I think there was an accident right there. Two cars seem to be facing the wrong direction.
Yeah, we had Banerjee with a bit of a spin out right there. That's going to affect the whole tail end of the circuit. Raya, Yo, and Takuma, unfortunately, were involved in that. We might see some penalties coming through from the stewards. We'll wait for that confirmation, but they are all dropped. It's about 21 seconds behind the delta of Andika, so I don't think we're going to see much movement from them. We're going to go back to the front of the race right now here. Andika from Indonesia, our champion from last year's race.
Look at these two drivers go side by
Good
side. That's
turn
Farlan and
coming
Zari.
Zari tries to come through. He does successfully. Farhan does successfully defend that though, so he'll stay in 15th place. But now Dafa in second. He's starting to close the gap. Andika does not want to let him through, but at the same time, he's breaking Dylan Tan right now. He has to be so frustrated, and he wants to get past Dafa, but Dafa's just he's having that blocking line. So Dylan, even if he wants to go on the outside and be a bit more risky, he can't make that inside cut.
That's right. Now we're coming back in view as Zarli and Farlan. You can see the damage on the car for Zarli, but at the same time, like I mentioned earlier, the question is how well and how quickly are you able to adapt to the situation and be able to be competitive or not. And at this point of time, almost at the halfway point of this race, it seems like he is able to adapt really quickly, because look at all these lines, just completely shutting off Farlan, not allowing him any breathing space. Farlan's at the back, I'm sure he sees the gap, but just not big enough a gap for him to squeeze through.
So we're about 12 minutes into the race already, Bianca. What are you feeling if you're in a sprint race like this? What are you feeling psychologically, physically at this stage of the race?
Well, I would always try to take to be calm and composed, especially like I'm not sure if the sim racers would do it as well, but for me, whenever there's a long straightaway ahead, I try to ease in my grip on the steering wheel to help myself relax and calm down before the next corner. And I really do think that it helps a lot, especially when you start to fatigue and mentally as well. You get drained from driving and from pushing too much.
And then the breathing techniques as well. Does that help you?
It definitely does. Recently I've been trying to meditate before the race, and it does help a lot. It helps your brain just react faster.
Now, I've had a chance to talk to some of these sim drivers. Bianca, I'm going to ask you as well. Do you have rituals where you you want in a pair of socks and therefore you do not wash those pair of socks and you wear them for every single race? Is that something that is in your list of to-dos?
Definitely not with the socks. They get very sweaty after the race, so I wash them. But I think I've always just I'm very religious, and I always carry with me a cross, a bracelet, and I do the sign of the cross before I drive, and ask for guidance. In real life, it can be a bit dangerous, I would say, especially the street circuit. And so yeah, just ask for guidance from God, and usually does the work.
Wise words from Bianca, only 17 years old, racing in W Series around the world. Thank you for those insights. We're now back here, 2022 HyperDrive Cities Sim Racing Championship Finals. We are looking at Martono, currently in 9th position. You can see that he is barely 0.2 of a second behind Sega. They're coming in through this ERP gantry, such an iconic area in Singapore. In fact, we're just a couple of 100 meters away from that spot in real life, Phil.
Indeed. And as they come into the Ion corner, they'll take a sharp left into a sharp right now. Here is the sharp turn, and they will come into the final straight here, past Marina Mandarin or Tang, Marriott Tang Plaza, down into the final straight. And Andika, we're watching at the point of view right now, is Dafa right behind Andika, and you can see that is 0.4 of a second. That distance, it's barely like what? That has to be 10 meters? 10 meters behind him, and that's 0.4 of a second. Just
like you mentioned earlier, Phil, sometimes there is a bit of a parallax error, I guess, even from the racing driver, and especially when you're going at these speeds. Now, this is the McLaren 720S GT3, super lightweight, carbon fiber, composite panels that make up the entire car, developed to deliver even greater levels of stability, aerodynamic efficiency than its road car stablemates. Now, at the heart of this is a massive race-prepared 4-liter twin-turbocharged V8 engine that produces a whole hell lot of power to the rear wheels. That means these guys have 700 plus horsepower just to the rear wheels. That rear wing so important for aerodynamics. All that downforce that created, especially at higher speeds. I think it goes up to 1,000 kilograms in terms of downforce weight. And talking about downforce, we're looking at a very, very large spoiler here on the tail of Dafa. Short right behind him on his tail is Dylan, who is currently still in third position, excuse me, and Dafa on the tail of Rama. Now I think Dafa is under a lot of pressure as well, because throughout the race, and we're about 12-14 minutes into the race, he's been stuck in between Andika and sandwich in between Andika and Dylan, so he's getting pressure trying to overtake the car in front of him, but at the same time a lot of pressure trying to defend and block the car behind him.
How does that play out psychologically for you, right? You're waiting, you're being patient to have the right opportunity to attack, but then at the same time, the guy behind you, you're like, oh, do I stay defend? Like, okay, they don't have teammates, right?
Yes.
So they don't have to think about team strategy.
Yes.
But you know, as an individual, I want to overtake in front. I want to be risky.
You want to attack,
but at the same time, like, I got to look at my rear view mirror, right? Who the hell's behind me? What do I drive defensively? So how do you find that balance of when you make that decision to go for it?
You know, it's very tough, you know, as a driver, you know, in second, he wants to attack, especially, you know, the minutes counting down, but at the same time, he can't be overconfident and make a mistake, because the person behind him can easily capitalize on that. You know, Dylan Tan is only a few tenths behind him, and one mistake, one overshoot, and that's pretty much it. And you know, a straight circuit is, I would say, one of the toughest tracks to overtake or pass that. So everything really needs to be highly calculated, and you know, I'm pretty sure that Andika is a very competitive driver, lots of experience, and he's holding the pack really, really well.
I mean, this race at the end of the day, Hong, is going to come between Andika, Dafa, and Dylan Tan. Dafa is behind by 3 tenths. Dylan is behind by 7 tenths of a second. But you can see right there the huge separation between third and fourth. Pratama and the rest of the pack are probably not going to be able to catch up unless we have a spin out at the front of the pack. So it's going to be between those three right there as we come into the next turn. I think that was the handy turn. We're coming to the hairpin pretty soon, and we might see...
No, I believe right now they're right behind Wisma Adria. They're coming through to the final 3 corners of the Orchard Road Street Circuit, the extended version. Like you said earlier, this is the 4.9 kilometer version. But I think you're absolutely right, Phil, because right now the gap that these 3 drivers have been able to create on top of everybody else, basically, is pretty impressive. I mean, 3 seconds in an endurance race, different strategies as compared to a race like this. But you can see Dafa right here coming almost bumper to bumper, really close to Andika. A lot of pressure there. Oh, I think there's a slight mistake there. I can see him counter steer a little bit. Correction there. I think Dylan is going to take advantage of that slight little boo-boo, if you may. And there you go, Dylan now on the bumper of Dafa, coming up. The opportunity for Andika to try to pull away if possible, but Dafa is a very calm and collected driver. Now, interestingly, between Dafa and Dylan being the youngest driver here, 13 years old, Dafa from Indonesia is only 15.
Well, we're through the handy, and now we have the hairpin. This is going to determine, Dylan, is he going to make a move? No, he's just going to be patient. 7 minutes to go on the track, so he's just going to maintain the status quo and probably... he's gonna have to do something, and I think probably like we predict, the hairpin is where he's gonna do it. He has maybe, I think, 3 or 4 more opportunities to get into position and make that move on a Dafa.
That's right, Phil. I mean, these three drivers are indeed some of the best sim racing drivers here in Southeast Asia. I know for a fact that they also do a bit of go-kart racing, and they're also always up on the podium. So just like you said earlier, Bianca, you know, the ability for the drivers to go from from sim racing to real life racing, be it go-karts, open wheel racing like yourself, or you know, GT3 or touring production cars. It's legit. It's real. It's real.
It is, and you see drivers, you know, like even Dylan, he's so young, but still he's so competitive in the sim racing, and because, you know, karting, it teaches you so much fundamental, so much basic, and then we can translate that into sim racing. It makes a huge difference having those techniques down in the sim. It really does make a difference.
Absolutely, Bianca. Okay, now let's take a look. Now we're back on board, forward-facing camera of DAFA. Well, let me just talk real quick about the circuits. I mean, holy cow! The clarity, the quality, the accuracy. You can see reflection on the glass. You can see the sun shining onto the cars itself as they come through the shadows. This is just amazing, amazing, amazing.
I think you make it more detailed with this, actually. So believe it or not, this is like, if you look in terms of detail and quality, this is like probably like a 7. Like they can turn it up to a 10.
Even
and
more.
when it's a 10, it's just like if you they can add in weather effects, they can add in, you know, slicks. It can be, you know, there was a famous year where it was raining during the night circuit here in Singapore. So they can do all these kind of things. It can be overcast. They can simulate it being super sunny to super hot conditions on the track. So there's lots of flexibility to what they want when they want to tune that in.
The beauty of sim racing.
Absolutely, you can create those environments. We're now on board with the only Thai driver representing Thailand, and also representing Vatana Motorsports. We have Tanalapan. Now, Vatana Motorsports is, I believe, GT3, GT4 race team over in Thailand as well. But here in the sim racing world, very competitive because they want to be in that top 10. Now, like I said earlier, it's not just about bragging rights. There's also a prize pool of a total of 10,000 Singapore dollars divided among the top 10 drivers. So I believe Tanalapan is also looking at that because he's in 11th and he's only about 0.3 of a second behind Jay Wong, who is representing Singapore. Now, once again, back with cameras, all eyes on Dafa, all eyes on Adika, all eyes on Dylan Tan. These three drivers have been performing exceptionally well throughout this race. We're down to the final 4 minutes of the 2022 HyperDrive Cities Sim Racing Championship Finals here at Orchard Road, Singapore.
And this is going to be the next opportunity. We're coming up to the handy turns and the hairpin. So now Dylan, he needs to focus up. He needs to get that line straight. Is he going to make a move right now? Not yet. Just slowly patient on the hunt as we have a look at Dafa. And Dika is in the lead. Dafa down 0.4 of a second. Dylan behind him by 0.5 of a second. Here we go into the handy turn.
Beautiful.
Nothing doing. Now into the hairpin very shortly.
Okay, now cameras back on to Banaraj in 17th position. I think one good thing about this race, one amazing thing about this race is look at these two drivers going really bumper to bumper, maximum throttle, maximum pressure for each other between Farlan in 16th position and Banaraj in 17th.
So much damage.
Yes, a lot of damage.
A
lot of contact there between the drivers and also with the environment onto the walls as well. Clearing that beautifully. Coming on the outside. Is he going to make a move? No, denied, blocked.
Farhan.
But wait a minute, he got it. They're on the inside, down there side by side. In fact, he overtakes on the inside lane, blocking him. What an interesting overtake. Well done.
Raya coming in front of Banerjee. So what a maneuver right there. So even in the tail end of the race, these guys are giving it their all. You know, it is also a bit of a nationalistic pride on the line between these nations. So we have about 2 minutes left in the race. So I think maybe.
Oh, I think he braked a little bit too late there.
Just a bit of a mistake right there by Banerjee. So he's going to want to recover back. But about 2 minutes left in the race right now. So very, very few opportunities left. Dafa, we're going to go back into the viewpoint of Dafa. He is behind Andika by 0.7 of a second. Dylan Tan now, unfortunately, has lost quite a bit of time behind 1.3 seconds. And Pratama is 2.7. So I don't think Pratama... I don't know. You look at the delta and it's like, wow, it's a massive delta. But then you have the in-person view and it's like that. It's like 10 meters behind the car.
I think it's really impressive because Pratama was a little bit further behind, but as you can see, coming closer towards the end of this race, Pratama has really caught up. I mean, he's 2.6 seconds behind. And just like you said, Phil, in real life, rather, what we're seeing on screen, he's not that far away. I mean, anyone that makes a small, minor mistake, anything, right? I mean, the wing mirror touching the walls or any small bump, braking 1 meter too late into a corner, it's going to cost these drivers a lot. And there's a lot riding for these drivers as well. Now cameras back on Dafa. Dafa qualified fastest, so he has a lot of experience, I guess, also on this track, and he's also proven himself that he is a fast driver. But right now, denying him that top spot on the podium for the remaining 35 seconds. Will we see it all the way to the end? Right now, leading this race, leading the pack, is Andika Rama from Indonesia.
It's his last opportunity. It's going to be the last opportunity for Dafa to make a move. It's going to be the last opportunity for Dylan to catch up and make a move on Dafa if he wants to get into second place as we make that turn. I think that's going to be the Grange turn as we head into Ion very shortly.
That's
Makes
right.
a good line. That's not too bad right there from Dylan Tan. He is trying his best. We're going to go into the viewpoint of Martono at the back, in the middle of the pack right now. 154 as they cross the finish line, and that's going to be it. Andika will take first place. Dafa, his compatriot, in second, I think.
No,
not yet. It's a final.
They
so
managed,
time is done.
Time is done.
And
They
now
managed
we're in
to
the final
cross
lap.
the start-finish line right before that timer clock ended. So that means this will be the final lap. Ladies and gentlemen, we are at the final lap of the 2022 HyperDrive Cities Sim Racing Championship Finals. Camera back now on to Dafa, who's still in second place, really looking for that gap, really hoping to be able to catch up to Andika. It is a final opportunity. If I'm Dylan right now, I would be so nervous. Camera back now to Marton.
Oh no!
Oh, whoa! Massive crash. Massive crash right there at Handy. Such a tricky corner. Wow, okay, that's going to be so painful. Yep, just a mild touch is all you need. And these cars are traveling at up to 180, 190 kilometers per hour. I think, such a painful moment. But he does not care.
On Andika's face. Exactly. To grin already.
We are now looking at the live cam of Andika Rama, who has been leading the race from lap 1 all the way now to lap 13 into the final few corners of the 2022 HyperDrive Cities Sim Racing Championship Finals. Dafa in second position, 6/10 of a second behind. Dylan Tan representing Singapore, 9/10 of a second, 1 second behind. And his drivers are now coming on to the final 3 corners. That is Ion Shopping Mall right behind you. And then these will be the last 2 corners. Andika Rama coming in, leading from start to finish, coming on to the final corner. Will he clear it? It is a clean drive, clean finish, clean corner. Andika Rama is your champion winner for the 2022 HyperDrive Cities Championship Finals. Dafa from Indonesia in second position, Dylan crossing the start-finish line in third, Pratama in fourth, Russell Reyes in fifth, Siswaya finishing the race in 6th position. 7 goes to Rajmat. Singer gets 8. Ortono gets 9. Jay Wong gets 10th position.
So Presley in last year's race was 2nd, is now 9th. So it just goes to show anything is possible in these races. You can't count any of these racers out. And congratulations once again to Andika. Dylan Tan, unfortunately, will repeat 3rd place as compared to last year's race. And Dafa, brand new, will take 2nd place. So congratulations to Dafa, Andika, Dylan Tan, all the way up to 10th place. Remember, prize pool is split between the top 10 this time.
Yep.
Not so much
the top 3.
Not just the top 3. So plenty of money to be spread around the top 10.
It's really funny, Phil, because I'm watching the screen right now. Race is over. The drivers know who have won. They know the results unless there are any protests later where the drivers may complain about other drivers and protests. And, we don't know that yet. So the provisional results, I should clarify, is what you guys see on the screen. But race is over. These drivers are basically driving back to the pits. But look at them. They're still kind of racing each other. There we go, side by side. More action right now, ladies and gentlemen. We are at the end of the race. Race is over, but the drivers are still giving their all, 100%, door to door, mirror to mirror, bumper to bumper, side by side, as they come in contact, just for the fun of it. And boom!
Right at the end.
Beautiful crash from Andika, beautiful crash from Dafa. Wow, what an amazing race. I mean, my heart rate is going, let me check my Garmin here, 105. I'm not kidding. Garmin says, oh, there we go. Yeah. We are just as excited. Can't imagine what the drivers are feeling right now. What a fantastic race. Bianca, What did you think about the race?
That was intense. That was intense. Till the last lap, you didn't really know who would take second, and I think that's the beauty of racing. You never know until the last lap. And very well done to Andika. Very mature drive. Really showed his dominance in his in all of the other drivers. He's consistent every lap, very quick.
Yeah, Bianca, I mean, it was very, very good driving, very beautiful driving from all the drivers. And okay, so sorry to interrupt. I believe the officials have said that we do have a live connection with the race
With
champion.
Andika.
Yeah, with Andika. All right, cool. Let's catch up with Andika, champion winner of the 2022 HyperDrive Cities Festival. Hi, Andika. Congratulations on the race.
Hello, Hong. Thank you, Thomas. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Phenomenal win, phenomenal drive. How are you feeling right now?
Yeah, first of all, thanks to HyperDrive, guys, everyone there making this event super crazy. Yeah, this track is also crazy.
Yes, it
So
is.
yeah, I know Dava and Dylan is really, 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 really quick drivers. Yeah, yeah. You also know, like everyone know they are both really good. I just lucky I got the qualify in P2, and
Yep.
then I know I'm confident with my start. So yeah, I think that's a good chance that I will take the lead on the first lap. But as you know, as you see, they're both giving the pressure really hard to me. And on the chicken especially, it's really dangerous.
Yeah.
Uh,
A
so
lot of
so
pressure from Dafa.
yeah, so I just try to drive safely and then not to get overtaken by Dava there because I saw in the mirror Dava is really brave at that corner. Dylan also brave. So yeah, maybe they're still young. Yeah,
That's lovely,
young
Andika.
blood.
So, what was the circuit like for you, and were you impressed with the McLaren's performance?
Yeah, the track is really nice. Yeah, I've been in Singapore like 2 or 3 times. I forgot, and I know this track is really similar to real life counterpart. And then the track is really challenging. The layout, the bumpy, and then you don't feel like it's on the game. You're driving on the real track, and there is a wall everywhere. So I have to be really
There's a wall
careful.
everywhere.
I have to be really careful and then and make every inch counts. Yeah, yeah. And the car is for me it's really suit the track because I think the track is really high speed and then need the downforce, big downforce. So especially on the I don't know what corner, the bridge after the hairpin. Which
The
corner I
bridge
don't
after
know.
the hairpin.
The
Yeah,
Fort
Fort
Canning,
Canning.
Fort
Yeah,
Canning
Fort
turn.
Canning.
Yeah, the Fort Canning as you really grateful with the McLaren downforce there. We can just like lift a bit and then send it.
Lift a bit
So
and send it.
yeah, the track is really flowing and I think it's really good combination with car and track. But just the last part, which is really slow parts of the track and the cars, need more downforce at that point lah.
All
But
right, Andika.
overall, it's good. It's really good combination.
You're taking home 3,500 Singapore dollars. What are you going to do with all that money?
Uh, what to do?
We've got a few ideas here in
That's
Singapore.
a lot of
Yeah,
Indonesia rupiah.
Oh yeah, that's true. A lot.
Maybe saving and then fix my car and then fix my home a bit lah. I think it's a bit old, so I need to use that money to fix everything else in my home.
Very prudent, very prudent. And Dika Rama, once again, congratulations on a phenomenal drive from start to finish. And congratulations for winning the 2022 HyperDrive Cities Sim Racing Championship. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone.
Wow, what an amazing race and what an amazing finish for this year's 2022 Sim Racing Championship Finals. Ladies and gentlemen, we are coming close to the end of today's broadcast, live stream broadcast coming straight to you from Scape, Singapore.
Indeed, indeed. And if you enjoyed today's race, plenty of races happening throughout the next year and the following years. So HyperDrive Cities Festival will be going around the region and hopefully around the world. So do check out our website, like, share, subscribe on our Facebook page, Instagram, and we're even on TikTok as well for more content and the races in the future.
We'll also like this opportunity to thank our key partners and sponsors this event, this entire festival would not have been possible without the support of the Singapore Tourism Board, McLaren Singapore, and of course the venue partner where we are live right now, Scape Singapore.
Indeed, and we'll be here the whole of tomorrow, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. here at Scape. We'll have the sim racing rigs going. We'll have the electronic go-kart on the outside of the venue going as well. So come on down, try the McLaren 720S GT3 on the sims, and of course, try that instant acceleration on the electric go-kart. So do drop by Scape tomorrow.
That's right. Well, Phil, Bianca, thank you so much. It was a pleasure shoutcasting with the two of you this evening. For those of you who are live here with us at Scape Singapore, don't go anywhere. I can see you from the corner of my eye. Don't go anywhere because we have a massive performance happening shortly after this. And for those of you who are watching live at home, thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for joining us for the 2022 HyperDrive Cities Sim Racing Championship Finals. Bye-bye. Awesome.
Nice,
Awesome.
nice.
Awesome.
It's fun, so much fun.
That was a good race.
It was
That was a
actually.
good race.
Lots of incidents, especially the